All right, fellas, let's get into it. We've got to talk about Jake Paul again, because like it or not, he's forcing himself right into the heart of boxing conversations. The question today is one that feels crazy to even say out loud. Could Jake Paul actually fight for a world title? I know, sounds ridiculous, but after what we've seen in this sport over the last few years, is it really that far-fetched anymore? So, here's the deal. Jake Paul is getting ready for his next fight, and this time he's facing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, if you've been following boxing even half seriously over the past decade, you'll know that Chavez Jr. is not exactly in his prime. In fact, his prime ended about 10 years ago, and since then we've seen him deliver more disappointing performances than inspiring ones. This is the same guy who lost to Anderson Silva, who's not even a career boxer, and looked like he didn't have the stamina to keep going past a couple of rounds. Yet here he is, back in the ring, and against Jake Paul of all people. Now, what made this fight possible in the first place is Jake Paul doing what Jake Paul always does. He shoots for the moon, gets rejected, and then finds a backup plan. He tried to get fights with Canelo. He tried to talk up a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, but neither of those were ever going to happen right now. So instead, he's gone for Chavez Jr., a recognizable name, the son of a Mexican legend, and someone the promoters know will sell tickets in Los Angeles. Add Zordo Ramirez to the card as well, and suddenly you've got the Mexican fanbase on board. Jake's not the one carrying this show, Chavez and Zordo are. But Jake's smart enough to piggyback on their support and make it look like it's his moment. Now, I'll be real with you, I've never been the biggest Jake Paul hater. At first, I thought, hey, maybe it's good for boxing to get some new eyes on the sport. Maybe his crossover fights would bring in casual fans who'd stick around and support the real fighters. But the longer this has gone on, the more it feels like Jake Paul has become more of a stain on the sport than anything else. And if you saw that first press conference with Chavez, you'd know exactly what I mean. Jake stood up there with a chip on his shoulder, like he's God's gift to boxing. He went on about how this fight is some big challenge, how it's going to prove the media wrong, blah blah blah. Just the usual nonsense he spins to make himself sound like he's breaking boundaries. But then, of course, he went too far. He started mocking Chavez Jr. for his struggles with addiction, which is just low, even for Jake. Say what you want about Chavez Jr., but addiction isn't a joke. And Chavez Sr., who was sitting right there, showed nothing but respect towards Jake, even praising him. And what did Jake do? He mouthed off at him too. It's just embarrassing, isn't it? This is the guy who's supposed to be admirable according to De La Hoya? Please. The sad thing is, this is all part of the script. They're already starting to sell Chavez Jr. as if he's back in his prime. You know the classic lines. He's training harder than ever. I've never seen him this motivated. All the same phrases we heard before the Mike Tyson fight. But the reality is Chavez Jr. has looked finished for years. His last fight against Uriah Hall showed a guy with no gas tank, no fire, and no real reason to be in the ring besides a paycheck. Strip away his last name and the family legacy, and what are you left with? A fighter who should have retired a long time ago. And that's why, as much as I'd love to say otherwise, Jake Paul probably wins this fight. He's younger, he's fitter, and right now, he's a better boxer than Chavez Jr. is. And that brings us to the real problem. What comes after this fight? Because it's not just about Jake versus Chavez Jr. No, the whispers are getting louder about what Jake wants next. And if you thought Jake Paul fighting Chavez Jr. was bad, just wait until you hear this. The first option, which they're already hinting at, is a fight with Gervonta Davis. Now, this would likely be an exhibition, maybe even on Netflix, because we all know Jake loves the big spectacle. Can you imagine the press conferences? The fake beef, the circus, the staged drama? It would probably be more entertaining than the actual fight. And honestly, I don't even mind this too much. If it's an exhibition, whatever. It's like Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. It's not real boxing. It's just entertainment. If that's the road Jake wants to go down, fine, let him. But the scarier option is the other one, the one where Jake Paul actually fights for a world title. And before you roll your eyes, let me remind you that presidents of sanctioning bodies have already said they'd consider it. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's something people inside the sport have openly entertained. At the press conference, there was talk of Jake possibly fighting Zordo Ramirez. And if Zordo is hanging around on Jake's undercards, you'd better believe there's a reason for it. They're planting the seeds. And this is where it gets depressing. Because while real contenders are out there busting their backsides, waiting years for a shot at a belt, Jake Paul might just skip the line because of his name and his audience. Think about it. Manny Pacquiao just got ranked number 5 in the WBC despite years of inactivity, simply because he's Manny Pacquiao. If they can do that, why wouldn't they throw Jake Paul into the cruiserweight rankings and hand him a title shot? These organizations care about money first, and Jake brings money. But let's be clear, Jake Paul doesn't deserve it. Yes, he's improved as a fighter, and I'll give him credit for actually training hard and taking it more seriously than I thought he would. But has he beaten anyone that proves he belongs at world level? No, he's fought Tyron Woodley, a past prime Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, and now Chavez Jr. None of these guys are top-tier boxers right now. They're names. They're spectacles. They're good for headlines, not for world titles. What's worse is that if Jake does get that title shot, it makes a mockery of the whole sport. Because while young, hungry fighters are grinding in the gym, fighting for scraps on small cards, Jake's going to waltz in with his YouTube following and get handed opportunities others would kill for. And the irony in all of this is Jake sitting there calling Chavez Jr. a silver spoon kid, saying he was gifted opportunities in boxing. Jake, mate, look in the mirror. You've been handed more opportunities in a couple of years than most fighters get in a lifetime. You didn't build this the hard way. You built it off your image, your brand, and the stars who agreed to share the ring with you. Without them, who knows where you'd be? And here's the other thing that bugs me. Why does Jake Paul even care about world titles? His audience doesn't. The fans who watch him aren't tuning in because they want to see him chase belts. They're watching because they want to see the circus. It's the same with KSI. Nobody wants to see KSI fight some unknown contender. They want to see KSI fight Jake Paul. That's the money fight. That's the one the fans actually care about. Put it in Wembley, sell it out, and be done with it. But no. Apparently, a couple of pounds difference in weight is enough to keep it from happening. It's pathetic. At the end of the day, I think it's inevitable that Jake Paul will fight for a world title. Whether it's the WBA, WBO, or even that ridiculous Bridgerweight belt, sooner or later one of these sanctioning bodies is going to cave. They'll see the money, they'll see the headlines, and they'll make it happen. And when it does, it'll be one of the saddest reflections of where boxing is right now. Because instead of celebrating young fighters earning their shots, we'll be sitting here talking about Jake Paul fighting for a belt he hasn't earned. So what do you guys think? Could Jake Paul really fight for a world title? And if he does, what does that say about boxing? Is it good because it brings attention to the sport, or is it just another nail in the coffin of boxing's credibility? Let me know what you think, because I've got a feeling this conversation isn't going away anytime soon. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I'll keep you updated on every twist and turn in this circus we call boxing. Thanks for watching, fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.